with liberty and justice for all.
Marty, has this meeting been, sorry, want to do roll call?
Sure. Alice Woods. Here. Kayla Conlon View. Here. Casey Weiss.
Here.
Jeanette Simonson. Here. Nick Helsted.
Here.
Iftikhar Memon.
Here.
And Caitlin Cunningham.
And Marty, has this meeting been properly noticed?
Yes, it has.
Do we have anybody for public comment? All right, can I have Julia White and Ariel all come up, please? And ladies, you'll be held to 4 minutes of time each on the discussion, okay? Marty keeps that time, so when she lets you know you're getting close, please wrap. We are gonna try to be, I guess, efficient tonight because of the weather that's rolling in, so, okay? So the floor is yours.
Good evening and welcome to Bush Innovation. My name is Ariel Hall. I wear a lot of hats, so I didn't know what to sign in as tonight. But I do want to speak on an issue that happened at prom. 2 of our students were asked to leave prom after an incident. Their mother wasn't notified till an hour later. The student was at this corner store, covered in blood, ripped prom dress, and had to be taken to the hospital, had a concussion, is out of school for a concussion. We were just at this board meeting last month explaining the importance of MMIW, and our district knows that and then push these students off of the property like they were raccoons. Go on, get out of here, you're troublemakers. I think it was in poor taste. I think it was very negligent on the district. And I would like for Julia to have the opportunity to speak with the board and superintendent in the next 2 weeks to come up with either a policy that gets put in place. We can't change the past, but we can protect our kids in the future. And I think that needs to happen.
And I agree with what Ariel has spoken today, so she was just here to kind of help me speak on my behalf and be here for me and my kids, and I truly appreciate that.
So we will be reaching out for that meeting shortly. That's all.
All right, thank you, ladies. Haas?
Hey guys, it's me, Haas. I kind of just wanted to address the school board of, this feels eerily reminiscent of last year's meeting where we were all sitting in this room having a conversation about concerns from the Ho-Chunk Nation and the community that I come from, of our kids not being seen as equals or treated as equal. I'm not in discussions in the office. I don't see the videos, all those types of things. All I know is when these kids come to my room, they tell me, their parents tell me, other teachers tell me that is the one space that they feel safe. And to me, that's like extremely concerning because I think we as a district, we as a building in the high school need to do better at making all of our kids feel safe in all of our classrooms and all of our spaces. And this conversation started last year and before I was even in the district, and it doesn't seem to be going anywhere. And that's extremely frustrating for me to be this proud tiger, part of the staff that is like saying that we're doing, all of these great things, and we are, but our kids are still feeling the divide. Our kids are still feeling, our families, our community is still feeling that divide. And I'm just asking that we do better. I don't know what that looks like. I don't know what that, Michaela had brought up in the last school board meeting when we had addressed the Hard Spirits thing, the possibility of diversity training and just getting to know about each other, getting to know all of the things. I think that we need to make that a priority rather than some of, the other things that we've made priorities that maybe aren't as pressing because it really affects how, not only how my community sees the school district, but it really affects our relationship with education as a whole. And I don't want that to continue. I want it to be better for everyone, not just Ocean kids, not just, you know what I mean? I want it to be better for everyone, but like there is a huge divide. And I know that you guys see it, even if we don't always acknowledge it. I know you guys see it, and so like I'm just asking for some help and support in making it better around here, because this has gotta stop. That's all that I have.
I would just let everyone know that the board is unaware of the incident from prom. It is not following our procedures nor our policy for them to hear about things before a full investigation has happened, so they have zero reports on what has happened. And so I just want everyone to be clear, it's not that they are ignoring, they simply don't know, because that is not the way our policy processes things that happen. And I would just offer that I would say, Andrea, that both things can be true. We can still have a problem, and we can continue every single day to be working hard on that problem. So they're not mutually exclusive. We haven't arrived anywhere, but it certainly doesn't mean that nobody is trying.
Are board members allowed to talk on this topic, or is that not how things usually work?
No.
Okay, that's what I mean.
Not yet.
Just for clarification, board members can direct me to report back to you on what the school district has learned through their investigation, and we'd have to schedule a closed session where that can happen. So you can direct me to get you more information, but you can't fact find from community members before we've had that chance.
I wasn't actually referring to this particular
Okay.
incident.
Yeah.
I was referring to some of the issues that were brought up, such as sensitivity training and stuff like that. Are these not laid out in the MOU?
Some of them are, yes, absolutely.
Appreciate the public comments. We're gonna move along here to community engagement. So start recording. And we'll start with 6.1, gifts and grants.
She said they're having a hard time hearing, so I'll have to speak up just a little bit.
Okay. Speaking towards.
Justin, have you started the live stream? Perfect, okay. So there are no gifts or grants to report this month.
Okay. And we're gonna move into the oath of office for our newly elected board members.
All right, I have the oath of office here for Caitlin and for Nick. I've been informed that I don't need to read it, they can read it themselves, and I can then sign this after they sign this. Is that correct, Marty?
Correct.
All right, so she needs to stand.
Want to stand and they take
Yep.
oath?
You wanna come to the middle so I can take a picture and just dig into my phone, sorry.
We'll have to do one at a time.
Yes, you'll have to sign it on some awkward desk. That's what I did. Go ahead.
Yes.
Okay.
Yep.
I, Caitlin Cunningham, having been duly elected to the office of the Board of Education of the School District of Black River Falls, swear that I will support the Constitution of the United States, the Constitution of the State of Wisconsin, and the School Board Member Code of Ethics, and will faithfully discharge the duties of said office to the best of my ability. So help me God.
When you get a copy, just memorize it.
That's me. That's like 3 years back there.
There you go.
Caitlin just were at it.
Alright. I, Nick Elstead, have been duly elected to the office of the Board of Education of the School District of Black River Falls. Swear that I will support the Constitution of the United States, the Constitution of the State of Wisconsin, the School Board Member Code of Ethics, and will fully discharge the duties of said office to the best of my abilities. So help me God.
elected to a second term, so. Alright. So, yep, making a motion, we're gonna move items 6.7 and 8.1. Do we have some extra guests here for those? Can I get a second on that?
I'll second that.
Vote? All in favor?
Aye.
Okay. Vote passes. So 6.7, we're gonna move up next, which is the WASDA Burt Grover Child Advocacy Award 2025. So Mary Ann Torkelson.
Excellent, would you come join us up front, Miriam? Well, in the middle perhaps. So each year, WASDA, the Wisconsin Association of School District Administrators, accepts nominees from throughout the state for people that they deem to be an advocate for children everywhere. And the people who have been selected for this award range all over the map. Last year, the Burt Grover Award winner was a grandpa from La Crosse who every single day showed up to play football with a group of kids, and that was his way of advocating for kids. This year, a group of us in Black River Falls decided to nominate Mary Ann Torkelson. She advocates for kids in a different way. She is absolutely relentless with the Jackson County Child Care Task Force and working to help address the child care desert that is Jackson County. She has been a founding member of the Servant-Led Community, which has worked to secure 2 significant grants to hire community health workers in our community. Not to mention her work with Co-op Credit Union, constantly reaching out and how they can serve our community in different and better ways. So of the over 140 nominees this year, Mary Ann Torkelson was selected, and last Thursday she went to the state convention and was recognized by all of the state superintendents. And what I think is exceptional about the award, WASDA gives her a check for $1,000 that she can donate to the charity of her choice, and she chose the Jackson County Child Care Task Force. And we were asked to commission an original piece of artwork that exemplified child advocacy from our high school. And so the fabulous Jen Dahl asked 4 different senior art students to come up with a piece of artwork, and then without knowing who was attached to which piece of artwork, a group of adults picked which one they felt exemplified child advocacy. And Josie Damask is the artist, and so WASDA gave her a check for $300 for her work for her artwork. On top of that, WASDA usually hires another CISA group to come in and create a video that promotes the winner and why they are so important and influential in their communities. And our student reporting lab said, we can do that. We don't need CISA to come in. And so we're matching the $300 donation, and a group of our high school students made that video that was shown in front of all of the different school districts last Thursday. So we are very proud to present Mary Ann Torkelson with this piece of original artwork and appreciate all of her advocacy on behalf of children in Jackson County. So congratulations. Say something.
So I'm humbled and honored to receive this award, and please know that I do not do this work alone. Servant leadership is at the core of who I am, and Robert Greenleaf says that in order to be a servant leader, you must first be a servant and then lead from there. And we have a lot of wonderful servant leaders in our community that are working to make lives better. So I'm grateful and humbled and appreciate it. Thank you very much. Okay,
It's now
thank you.
officially yours.
Thank you.
You bet. Thanks, Mary Ann. Get it out before it gets wet, right?
Yes.
All right, and then we're gonna move up 8.1, which is our student senate report.
I don't spy them. Kim, do you?
I think they sent you an email because the student was afraid of the weather.
Oh, I'm so sorry. I haven't checked my email this afternoon. Okay.
So that might be why.
No worries.
The student senate is doing
It's
great things at the high school. Just trying to gather information, ideas about what people want to do, and just gathering and getting organized.
Thank you for that. I'm sorry. I'm certain they probably did communicate very appropriately. I just did not check my emails.
We'll roll them into a future meeting.
Yep, perfect.
All right, then we'll move on to 6.3, which is a memorandum of understanding.
For this one, I would love to call Ryan Crane, Executive Director of Education for the Ho-Chunk Nation, forward and invite him to say a few words if he would like to. Otherwise, I have a short little intro.
Yeah, I would love to. Thank you so much for the opportunity. MOU was signed back in the 2010s. I believe it lapsed in 2012, 2013 school year.
I think
And there was work.
15, I was gonna say, it was a 5-year.
Oh, it was for 5 years. And they had been working on it since 2014 of the next one, the next iteration. Unfortunately, that fell through, and 10 years later, we're now here ready to sign an official document. My team has done a fantastic job of meeting, coming to the table with the school district, working together on this document. We are very proud that we're ready to sign this. And if there's anything else you'd like to add?
I would just add that over time, Andrea brought us back to the last time we were in the room. We can come together for a while it was every single month, and we worked collaboratively, and everyone would come with ideas and wishes and visions of the way we would like things to be. And then an incident would happen in the schools, and it would bring us back 20 steps. And then the next month when we come together, it was starting from square one and trying to work forward and work forward and work forward. We are so appreciative, and I think the overwhelming difference between this MOU and the first one that was signed is this is just specifically with the Ho-Chunk Nation Education Department as opposed to the Ho-Chunk Nation as a whole. And so when you look at all that falls under the umbrella of Ho-Chunk education, there are so many resources available, and I appreciated the theme of our conversations was all about what does the school do, and then how can the nation's education department augment that for our students. It was never a your job, my job, their job, our job. It was always how can we freely share as much information as possible so that our kids get the best opportunities ever. And I just think I'm really appreciative because it was 2.5 hours a month for at least a year, and then we can, 2 years, I was being optimistic, Ryan, for 2 years. And we feel really proud of this. And some of the things that we are hoping to do is that when we have data on a student, we want parents to be able to sign that release right away so that that data is transferable right away to the education department so that they can also act in real time as opposed to waiting until our quarterly meetings to get kind of a report at the end, but they can actively see exactly where the kids are at each point. Obviously, parents need to give approval because we can't share individual student data unless parents approve of that. But we figured out a way through our online registration system that can be a box that families can check, and away we go. So how can we make it as efficient and helpful for families as possible so that our students get maximum benefit? So, good stuff. Very good stuff.
Thank you.
All right. So some signatures.
Yes.
Casey, we love our signatures as well. Or did you want
I
others?
I would love our representative from D1 to please come up. Now, typically our vice president signs, but like we had said, we are going to go ahead and I'll sign first for the name. Thank you. I know that will take some.
Those that signed, if you'd stay up, I'd love a photo afterwards. If you don't mind.
I will also take the photo.
Then I'm not signing.
Does that mean you don't wanna be in the
I
photo?
think that's what I heard. I think that's what I heard.
It's gonna have to be a selfie that way.
Anyone ever asked, are we gonna be able to decipher this handwriting? Oh, Robbie, that's beautiful.
That was zero sarcasm. That was 100% true. That is beautiful.
No, these are our legislative reps for this District 1, which the school district is. But I would, while we have this moment, like to ask all the members of the Department of Education and those that helped out with this document, please stand up and be recognized. Diane Ray. Michelle Cloud.
Michelle, are you the only or are you the only one engaged in both the original and the second one?
Well, I'm not signing that.
Right, but
But I signed
engaged.
the first one.
And super engaged in this entire process right up until now, so, excellent, excellent.
And Melissa Gray here as well. I wouldn't be able to be at any meetings if it wasn't for her, so.
Fantastic, fantastic. Put somebody in mind, and I'm not sure everybody else knows all the representatives, so perhaps you guys want to share your names as well?
Randy Reed, legislature.
Representative Phillips and Jessica Grenier.
You have to get Ryan's shoes in it.
You see the English he's using.
Got it. Well, there's more people.
And we can't thank you enough for your hospitality tonight as well. Not only is it commemorative to be able to sign here, but welcoming us for a meal is always extremely over the top. So thank you so very, very much.
You're very
Very
welcome.
much.
Thank you so much.
Exciting stuff. You keep one?
Yep.
And I'll keep one.
I don't think he's gonna fly over here when they drop this off here.
Thank you.
You're very welcome. The cultural sensitivity we're talking about.
Awesome, awesome.
Oh, I know.
Okay, so next section for us is section 6.4, which is election of school board officers. So I am going to make a motion to move this to a special meeting setting. Pick a date next few weeks, essentially, because there's some other topics that we need to discuss in closed session too. And I think it would make a lot of sense. And with the urgency of the weather coming, we'll just move that to hopefully a better date. So, alright,
Can you repeat the motion, please?
the motion is to move the election of the board of school officers to a closed session meeting in the future date.
And just to clarify, it could be closed session, but it would have to be a
But
special
a
meeting.
special meeting,
Yep.
sorry.
Yep. No, I just wanted to be
Yep,
Open session.
correct.
open special.
Who seconded it? I'm sorry.
Jeanette.
So we'll take a vote, all in favor?
Aye.
So everybody said yes. Okay. So we'll have Shelley communicate out some potential dates via email or text. Okay, review of board policy 0144.5.
That is one that usually goes along with the election of new board members. That is,
We'll move that.
yep, if you want to move that along with the election of officers, the conversations go very well together.
Okay. So I guess I'll make a motion to move that also to the same meeting.
I'll second.
Okay. All in favor?
Aye.
Alright, that's everybody again, Marty. Okay, 6.6, CISA annual meeting delegate.
So each year, CISA, our cooperative education services agency, sorry, I had to think about that, they host an annual meeting in which all 26 districts that are in their region ask for a representative from each district just for this one annual meeting. They send the booklet out so all boards get to review the materials afterwards, but each district gets one vote at the table, and that meeting was in June. We had already previously nominated Michaela, and then she was uncertain whether she was going to be able to be there, so it's back on the agenda. I'm unsure your availability or if they should nominate someone else.
I'm okay, I should be there.
Okay, then we don't have to take action because we've already done that, so.
Alright, then we will move ahead to section 7, our people. Focus on purpose with the Tiger Tails Early Literacy Nicole.
So I'd like to invite Ariel Hall to join me. Ariel brought Tiger Tails really forward, and it's just something I wanted to make sure that the board was informed about. So Tiger Tails is what we are calling programming that we're going to be doing for our youngest learners in early literacy. It really dovetails nicely with the Act 20 and all the reading work that we've been doing. And so like the big idea is that every child is a proficient reader by the end of third grade.
End of third grade.
And so, what Ariel found is she was I'm gonna let you talk for yourself if you would.
So we stole this from Oneida. Oneida Nation purchased Waterford Reading Literacy Program, and it is parent focused. So yes, the kiddos are gonna learn from it, but it's like 90% parent communication, parent involvement, and 10% on the school and the teacher. So we looked at, they purchased it in August last year. By February, they had over 70% growth with their littles. So we were talking through our Title VI budget and realized, you know, we don't have that MOU, we don't have anything slated, so Nicole, can we purchase this program and see what happens? And so through several meetings with Nicole, Bethany, Laurel, our Head Start, because that's our 4K kiddos here, we went ahead and purchased and realized of our 300 licenses that we're using all 300 licenses in our district, focusing on the students who are below the 25th percentile for reading right now, 4K through third grade. And we have started piloting with our kinders and first graders right now. We hired a part-time, tutor to be in Forest Street for 4 hours a day, and she walks around with QR codes, and they say 15 minutes a day, every day we'll build them. And so with our little core population, she's done her 15 minutes and then sends home a cute little tiger paw that says, I worked with Miss Haley, have you? And so the parents then jump on and do their 15 minutes and send a note back, and it's just kind of a real cute thing so far. But piloting, because we're at the end of the year, to see, will we need more Haleys? Is this something one person can manage 100 students, 200 students? What does that look like? We are seeing the kiddos that are doing it now for 2 weeks. I mean, it's still new and shiny toy for them, that they love it. And when Miss Haley comes, they know, like, oh, she's got the computer, we're gonna go play our game, and it has them on these little lily pads, and if you cheat and try to X out of the program, this little raccoon pops up and goes, no, no, no. And it's super cute. So that's the fun kidsy side of it, and that's what Oneida saw with it, was the families were engaged, the students were engaged. And with the package, Waterford brings in professional development for the parents. So we are partnering that with our JOM and our Title VI monthly meetings that we have. And so we're having our Waterford meeting hand in hand with those meetings, so we're not pulling parents out every night of the week. And they're getting a training, and it's a hands-on, this is how you read with your student, it's not just word calling, there's a lot more to it. The phonics games, it's like the older version of Miss Rachel if you have little kiddos. And so they're loving it. And our first parent training will be, I wanna say May 12th, but like that Monday, whatever that week is. So it's pretty exciting.
And so the slides that if you look at your packet, they just really go into all the, Waterford is a company that's been around a long time. It is really backed by the science of reading. It's a strong program. And we're really excited about the partnership and working with families and the ability to connect that to the classroom.
And I would say too to that, the important piece was not to add another plate to teachers. We wanted them to be able to say, you could use it as part of your stations, or you can leave it up to Miss Haley and she's gonna come and work with them at the teacher's convenience. We didn't wanna say, here's another curriculum to try. We just wanted to say, well, let's supplement, let's do it all the way. And we had the funding, and that's what it's for, so we're pretty excited.
It also feels good when a parent comes in and hears how their young reader is doing. If the parent says, well, what can we do to practice at home? Now it's not just what the parent makes up or what they can find, but there's a very research-driven program that they can engage in with their student. And so the board's had a lot of conversation about how do we get more families to share in the responsibility for their child's education. And so starting with giving them the tools to be able to do it well is a fantastic start. And so the intentions are to use it somewhat in school for target time differentiation, but to invite all families to be able to log in and use it as they are interested and willing at home as well. And it'll be available all summer as well for some of our readers, families to use throughout the summer months. Any questions? Excellent, thank you.
Thanks, ladies. 7.2, employment recommendations.
So you will see on there that we have secured a full-time school psychologist. Oh my goodness, that was exciting. Somebody who has lots of years of experience that is interested in relocating to the area, so that's really exciting for us. That's been a very difficult to hire position in the past. You will also see that Mrs. Gamrath is moving into the principalship at Red Creek, and we've hired a gentleman, his name is Jason Wilhelm, to be our new assistant principal. He's currently an elementary assistant principal in the Beloit School District. He has been a high school principal in Shawano, he's been in Luck, he's been to a couple different places, and he's decided at this stage in his life, elementary assistant principal is where it's at. He gets all of the fun of the kids, and still gets to do some of the leadership stuff, and so he's very excited. He's selling his home there and is moving to Black River Falls, so we're excited to welcome him on board as well. It is definitely prime hiring season. All of the principals have been very busy, and so far this year we've had deeper candidate pools than we've had in recent years. So that is exciting that there's more candidates out there for each one of the positions. We may be looking tech ed again, and that one is a little scary, so we'll see what happens there.
We need a motion to approve.
We do need a motion to approve.
I second.
Okay, all in favor?
Aye.
Everybody again, Mark. All right, and then we are on to section 8, student success, so human growth and development curriculum.
So the human growth and development curriculum is up for review. It's been 3 years since it was last reviewed. I checked in with all of our human growth development teachers. We kind of do that every year, ensure that the family communication is going out, and I included an example of what that looks like at each grade level in your packet. And then this was what the board reviewed 3 years ago, and it is still the there wasn't any changes. So the development of this was done by the ad hoc committee that all met and gathered together after extensive conversation over the course of 3 nights for a few hours each, and we came up with this list in a collaborative effort. Are there any questions?
You said the frequency for review is every 3 years?
Or
4?
a substantial change,
Or, okay,
any kind of shift in a deviation from this outline.
okay.
And so if there is any substantive changes, then the whole committee has to be pulled together and link the policy in there for your review. There was no need for that committee to come together this time because they weren't recommending any changes, just checking the box that once every 3 years the board has reviewed.
So we need a motion.
Yep.
I'll make a motion to approve.
Second.
Okay, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Everybody again, Mark. All right, Joe, monthly expenditures?
There's a packet for you. Nothing else to know.
Nothing special?
Nothing special.
Okay.
We bought a bus.
Don't want to talk about a bus.
Anybody have any questions for Jill or Shelley with that? No? Okay. We'll move on then to 9.2, CISA contract.
Still need approval.
Sorry.
I'll make a motion to approve.
I'll second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Okay. Now we'll move on to 9.2, CISA contract,
Sure.
25-26.
So we were talking about that CISA contract before. I gave you a brief description in the notes that it's really the professional network for the superintendents, the director of curriculum and instruction, and special education pupil services, all of those professional organizations. But then there's a lot of our special education auxiliary services, audiology, ambulatory. Up until recently, we had some Braille. We sometimes have the vision impaired, different services. So we have our own occupational therapist, but we don't have our own physical therapist, and so we contract with CISA. Some of those expensive special education services, we kind of keep an eye on it, and when we're starting to contract so much that it makes more sense for us to hire somebody ourselves, that's why we landed with an occupational therapist. We were paying them more than a full-time person, and so we were able to hire one for ourselves. And so those services, I appreciate that CISA does that right now. We tell them the best estimate of what we're gonna need next year, but if a new student were to move in during the summer, we of course would have to reevaluate and purchase more services. Conversely, if somebody moves, then they allow us with that flexibility. So they like an estimate now so that they can hire their staff and put out their contracts, and then they provide that flexibility should student populations change over the summer. the overall contract is slightly more expensive than last year, but within like $1,000. So virtually, I mean, still very much in the ballpark of last year's contract. It's a lot. We certainly support them a lot, but we are not a large district that we employ a lot of those people individually. We rely on them a lot for those things.
Any particular change that was different, Shelley, from last year to this year?
So we're looking at, our CISA is really a leader in the state on artificial intelligence and implementation and what it looks like in a school district and what policies need to exist around artificial intelligence usage and what does responsible exploring look like. And so they are starting a cohort of districts who are dabbling in there, and this really links well to our budget ask that you're going to hear about next, that we want to make sure that we're not just randomly out there shopping for programs, but that we lean on an organization that's done a lot of vetting of a lot of those individual programs, because the AI market is absolutely exploding in every field, but education certainly as well. And so I just at my conference last week, I heard some fantastic speakers that talked about you use artificial intelligence to become more efficient in how the adults spend their time so that you can be more effective when working with students. So instead of just pushing it out to keep kids busy, a teacher could use artificial intelligence to differentiate the lesson plan that they've developed so that they can effectively work with groups of kids at all different levels as opposed to spending all that time developing the lessons. The other example they gave was the principal who used to put sticky notes all over their wall to create their school schedule, and instead they put all those parameters into an AI platform and it spit out 6 sample schedules. And so that helped them to be more efficient so that they could then go to their staff with these 6 samples and get feedback on the pros and cons of each one of those schedules. So we're just looking for some guidance to help wading through all of those different artificial intelligence systems, and CISA has some great expertise to share with us.
Any other questions? Okay. We will move on next.
That does need your approval as well. Yep.
I'll make a motion to approve this CISA contract.
Second.
Okay, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
So all passed again, Marty. Alright, now we'll go on to budget recommendations.
All right. I'm actually gonna ask Mr. Erickson to come up. He's gonna talk to you a little bit. Excellent. He's going to talk to you a little bit about Student Success Coordinator. So just a quick recap. Last month we had a balanced budget for you, and then we had some conversation about how we really believe the state budget is probably going to allow us with a little bit more flexibility than we know for sure right now. And so the board had some conversation and we decided to pull the bus off of our initial purchase, and we were to lean in more on some of the levers that would more dramatically impact student achievement. And Jill has stopped quoting about the bus. I saw everyone looking. Knowing that if the state budget, when it comes back and it is positive, we really believe we'll be able to go to a lot and purchase a bus at the last minute, whereas some of these things are going to require recruiting and hiring and training of our staff, and that's really challenging to do once school starts. So the admin team came together and looked at the price of that bus, $150,000, and talked about how we would reprioritize, focusing on student outcomes first and knowing that the bus might come second. And Nate had a story to tell us about a student success coordinator, and I asked him to share with you.
Alright, so student success coordinator, so where the idea came from is I was at a conference, assistant principal conference this January, and River Falls was a school that was presenting, and they were presenting on, they have similar struggles that we do with absences, and they over the last couple of years have implemented this student success coordinator, and their presentation was all about talking about what that person does, what their role is, and how it has dramatically affected their attendance. So I'm going to share a little bit. This was something that we talked about a little bit, is a possible add-on to help with our attendance. As Shelley was saying, we believe that attendance is one of the primary levers for academic achievement. And when we look at our absenteeism rate at the high school and as a district, we are above state averages. So we think this is a really important position that could positively affect our school. Just a couple research things about chronic absenteeism. From K to 1, if students that are chronically absent are less likely to read proficiently by 3rd grade. In 6th grade, if you are chronically absent, this is the leading indicator of a high school dropout. And then in high school, it looks a little bit different, but when I think about high school, I think it's one of the most important things for academic success. And I see that on a day-to-day basis. So I think that's why it's important that we should consider this position. A couple of, I kind of split it into 2 pillars of where I think this position could be helpful. So the first one would be an advocate or / coach for students. So some of the roles that I can think of that could help us out, improving school culture, supporting low-level behaviors, one-on-one coaching conversations with students, daily check-ins with students and families, tracking attendance trends, I see it as a layer of support before administration. So this position, I don't think, the way that I see it, wouldn't be doing our truancy. That would still be, when it gets to that level, it would be on the administration. This person who filled this role would be trying to be proactive before we get to that point. And then also setting attendance goals. And so I think that's how, and I'm going to get to this in a little bit. Also another role for this position would be potentially having a student success class at the high school as well. And that would be part of their role. I'll get to that in a little bit. Also this position, advocate or coach for teachers. So teacher-student liaison, prep check-ins, and then supporting through observation. So I can see this person going into classrooms, supporting some of our students that are struggling with attendance, and kind of working with the adult and the student on some things. I had alluded to a leadership and success class. Again, this framework is from River Falls, and this is what their student success coordinator does. There are 4 levels, right? So the first level would be this person would, in this class, be working on relationship building and working on positive habits and routines with students in this class. Level 2 would be accountability standards, time management organization, and working on strengths focus with the students. In this class, it would be, we would select the students that would be a part of that class, and it would be our students that are struggling with attendance. Level 3 would be emotional intelligence, servant leadership, and then level 4 would be leadership in action, and then acknowledgement of standards, and then what do next steps look like. And so that's how the class would be broken up into, that's how they would progress through that class. And then as always, it would be that wraparound support, right? So the class is one piece of it, and then also supporting our students that are struggling with attendance on a day-to-day basis, kind of like I alluded to earlier. And that is a general framework of what that position could look like, and I think it could be a really positive thing for our high school.
Do you envision that position potentially coming from within current staff, or do you think you're going to have to go find resources outside of who we currently have to fill it?
Yeah, great question. So I think this position is very important to have the right person to do this. This is really challenging work, and it just takes a special person to be able to connect with not only students, parents, families, and then adults in the building as well. So I think, I don't know if I've thought about where that comes from. I guess we would have to see what the interest is internally, but I do think that the person really makes this position.
Is there, you said that they had positive outcomes with this, where we've been talking about for a while how almost nobody's had any positive outcomes on attendance yet.
Yeah.
What data do we have to support that this will do something?
Yeah, so I've been talking with, his name's Zach Campbell from River Falls. He's been at River Falls for a long time, and it's a fairly new position that they created for him in the last couple of years. He has all the data, he shared it with me. I don't have it written down, so I don't wanna say it and say it incorrectly. But I previewed it a little bit before I came today, and I know the attendance percentage was up like 15 to 20% range. And so from previously before he had come. So that would be something I can definitely share with you. I have some of those numbers that they shared at the conference.
And one other question, we talked about this before, where when it comes to attendance at high school, at least, there's a diploma, there's some sort of team. And one of the most problematic areas we have is middle school attendance. Is this a high school only position? Would this money be better spent targeting middle schoolers or students earlier in their academic career to build positive habits long term?
Yeah, I think, personal opinion, I think attendance looks very different from an elementary to a middle to a high school level. We haven't talked, and Jill, you can correct me if I'm wrong, we haven't talked about if it would be a middle school, high school position. I don't believe that it would be effective for district-wide, just because attendance, those conversations look very different, right, at the varying levels, but, potentially this position could be a middle school, high school, position. But we have not made that decision yet.
Sure, so we talked about it as a middle school, high school possibility. River Falls High School is quite a bit larger than us, and so they have a full-time person just at their high school. And so we talked about it, and I'm just gonna give Nate a little credit. He didn't highlight it, but he's been doing a little action research since he went to his conference in January, and he started some attendance groups at the high school, and he picked some adults that just really make good connections with kids regardless of their job alike. And so there's a custodian, there's an aide, Nate has a group, there's another teacher, there's just people who are really great humans who he's assigned them to attendance groups, and they've really made some nice gains in just some of those real small, it's kind of dipping your toe into this idea of what would it look like to have a coach walk alongside the students as they're making those daily decisions about whether I go or I don't go. And Nate's group said that they've got a group texting saying, hey, I think everyone in our group is here today, and they're able to celebrate that because they've had the conversations, done some goal setting, all of that stuff. And so when he learned about it, we didn't have the money to start a position, so we worked with what he had available and started to just see what kind of impact that could have. And so we're excited to track, those kids are all in groups, and by the end of the year, he'll have that data, the kids' improvement for those that were in those attendance groups versus those that were not. So that'll be interesting to see.
So, sorry.
No, please.
If this attendance is a big thing, so I'm asking.
Absolutely.
If that is working and you bring on a student success coordinator, would it be possible to maintain part of that staff mentorship that we're doing
Yeah, I
now,
don't think it's
or
an
is
either
that
or.
loading too much onto faculty?
I don't think it's an either or, right? I think there's not any one individual who's going to be the right connect for every student, right? That's the beauty of having multiple adults willing to engage in that work. And so I certainly don't see them scrapping it, but it'd sure be nice to have somebody kind of shoring that work up. I would remind the board, you heard a little bit about the Apex program at the high school that is a complete renovation this year, that they targeted the group of 8th graders that failed most classes in 8th grade and were concerned about their transition to high school. And so they grouped them together and they go to their core area classes together, and they have a class with that teacher that's just about success in high school. And the amount of failures for this group of 15 kids is a fraction of what it was in 8th grade. And so that's another example of us intentionally intervening with kids with just positive and positive and positive relationships, and then supporting, bridging that into their academics. Not this positivity lives over here, it's not part of what I do in my academics. I just think that we've seen a couple of examples of this starting to move the needle a little bit. And so we agree wholeheartedly, but we think that the solution for attendance at Forest Street is entirely different than this, because there's a family decision, not a student decision. And we haven't found the right nugget for that yet, but we're excited about some of the possibilities in the secondary levels.
Is this something that we could build, that could build relationships between the Ho-Chunk kids and our white kids, so that they're not, to help eliminate the
another caring adult that makes them feel that they belong.
so that they have that safe place, because I heard they don't feel safe to go to anybody at the high school, and it has to come here. If that person could be that individual who would make it feel safe for them to come and talk to, seeing that, and then help to build their leadership, to be an encouragement to the kids who don't feel like they have that. So it's just a thought that came through, that this would be positive for relationship building and making the Ho-Chunk community feel like they are part of our school district in Black River Falls.
Sorry, on that note, the MOU specifically talks about advertising positions directly to the Department of Education of the Ho-Chunk Nation.
We've been doing that for a while, yeah.
That would be included in any position like this?
Absolutely, yeah. And so what we do right now, so the timeline of most of our professional positions doesn't allow for publication in the Ho-Chunk Bodak, just because that doesn't come out as often. So what we do is in that document, we usually advertise for substitutes in all areas, teachers and aides and bus drivers and cooks and all of those positions, and all of our whenever there's an opening and Marty does one of those postings, she sends it to Ryan Crane, who then forwards it throughout the education department. So yeah. Any other questions for Nate as he's standing there?
No.
Thank you very much.
Thanks, Nate.
Thanks.
So that was line one. Yep. I will be more brief with the rest of my promise. So the instructional technology, you're going to see a lot of technology up here. Instructional technology, NextPath. Maybe you are familiar with EduClimber. All of our staff use EduClimber. It is the data warehousing for all of our student achievement data, all of our disciplinary write-ups. Those of you that have been in expulsion hearings, when you see that list of all the infractions, that's from EduClimber. NextPath is the new iteration of EduClimber. It's made by the same people who started EduClimber, but they have made it 3 times better, and it is half the price. And so we are very happy to walk away from EduClimber and replace that with NextPath. And the next one is called Rooms. It is the same maker of our website and our ThrillShare when you get notified of inclement weather, all those things, that messaging system that the district has. Rooms is a way that through our Skyward student record system, every club or class that a student is registered for would automatically dump them into a room, and a parent, so if you've had a high school student, you know that when they sign up for a sport, that coach, I'm going to use Band app because that's what a lot of them use. So the coach will say to the parent, I need you to download the Band app. That's how I'm going to communicate with you. That Band app lives entirely outside of the school district, and it should be an archivable record. We are responsible for that record being archived, and we simply don't. When a coach finds a free app, or a lot of our elementary teachers use Classroom Dojo, it's a free app that is functional and they use it, but we lose any archiving opportunities with it. And a parent then has to download 4 different apps based on what clubs their child is in. So what Rooms is going to do is allow every parent to download the School District of Black River Falls app, and as soon as they open it, they will be able to hit a tab on the bottom that says Rooms, and they will see their child and all of the rooms that their child is enrolled in. So their child might be in football and band and, jazz band or whatever that may be. All of those are going to show up right on that same room. So it is an additional cost to us, but we feel very strongly about the security of our network, about communication to families, that it is so much more streamlined. There's some very functional reasons. So we could program a bus route in there. So in the morning when one of our buses gels up and is running late, we would be able to look at that room, go to bus route number 427 or the cow, whatever it is, and we can message just those families that your bus is running 15 minutes late. We will get there as soon as we possibly can. So it's just gonna allow us to filter down that communication to any data point that's in our student information system that we can push messaging out just to that group. So we're really excited. They came out with it a few years ago when we just switched our website, but it was probably 3 times that price, and we said we just can't afford it. And now more and more people are relying on that type of technology, and they've dropped the price. And so we said we would really love to, we just think that it's going to be a huge community engagement piece. Families will be more connected through it. So that is our other recommendation. Instructional technology, Sydney. It is Seeing is Believing in Me. That's what Sydney stands for. It is an artificial intelligence and virtual instructional coach is what it is. But it is got some amazing possibilities. I'll give you just the real short version. A teacher can set their phone up, it's their personal account, they set their phone up in the back of class and they teach their entire class. When they are done, they can go and upload that video. Sydney immediately can draw a map of the classroom. Here's where the teacher spent their time in the classroom. It can say you called on 9 girls and only 1 boy during your class. You can ask Sydney, there was 2 students that were off task. Do you have suggestions for their behavior? And Sydney could immediately say, I wonder if you had blah, 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 whatever. The teacher could do an exit ticket at the end of the day where students answered 2-3 questions. The teacher scans over those exit tickets at the end of the day, uploads it with that video and says to Sydney, what lessons do I need to read, which concepts do I need to reinforce tomorrow? And it will even group the students. These 4 need this skill again, these 3 need this skill again. I'm gonna go back to that comment before about it helps our teachers be efficient so that they can be effective. A teacher could scan in a lesson and say, I need this same lesson at a 3rd grade reading level and with comprehension questions at the 5th grade level. Like, it just does all of those things for it. And so we're really excited. We've introduced it this spring to our instructional coaches, the humans who are doing that work, and have talked to them about how they could use this to augment their work. Some of the people, the districts that we've talked to that are using this just said that it is addicting for the extremely reflective teachers, those that just want to keep challenging themselves to get better and get better. It just gives them so much feedback that it is endless. So we are really excited to make that recommendation and felt like their price was very reasonable for a district our size.
Can I ask a question about that?
Yes.
Is there a data privacy issue with that?
So the teacher has their private account. It is never public. They can choose to share it with their administrator or not. So it would be no different than, it's housed in the cloud, but on a teacher login protected, just like all the rest of our data. So there is documentation that we would need to sign, contracts that we would need to fill out, but it's no different than, because we have teachers right now who will videotape their lesson and then they sit and watch them with their PLC team to talk to them about what happened and what they saw, because when you're the one teaching, you don't necessarily see through the same lens as those watching. So it's not that much of a jump from some of the actions that are happening, it's just at a much higher level.
But are parents going to have to sign waivers to allow the information collected to go into the cloud,
So
and that gets fed to the company that runs Sydney?
No.
Okay.
So it is no different than like that next path where we upload all of your child's discipline write-ups and all of their test scores. It's a data warehousing website. So it is that teacher gets an individual login and nobody has access to those videos just like until they share them out with their principal if they're going to use it for their evaluation or for a coaching cycle. So there are agreements that we will need to sign and we will certainly look with that lens, but it wouldn't need parent permission because right now we have teachers who are recording videos. We have in the handbooks it talks about recording because we have all of our hallways are monitored by cameras, that kind of stuff. So, and all of that is hosted in the cloud right now, so.
Are these like a one-time fee or annual?
Yeah, that's a great question. So all of them, so NextPath and Rooms, they both have a higher, actually I'm gonna go down, all of them have an initial, the first year is the most expensive as they onboard all of your data, either all your students or all your staff members, and then the ongoing license is less than that moving forward. So this is the highest rate, and then like Sydney, we were looking at a 3-year contract. For Rooms, we've got a 2-year price guarantee. So the first year is higher as we do some onboarding and training for our staff so that we can maximize it, and then the ongoing costs go down after that. Technology, the good news about the technology is it keeps getting cheaper because more and more people are figuring it out, and so the prices keep coming down, which is great.
So do you have to buy a certain amount of licenses?
So
how many do we purchase of it?
Yeah, so those other 2 are both student instructional technology. Perhaps when we were talking about artificial intelligence, there's an awful lot of, and I'm going to use math as the example because it is the most I'm going to say efficient in artificial intelligence because those skills spiral, and so kids can work independently more on some of those math programs that moves at their pace then, right? It can keep moving them forward with the instruction and back and forth. I lost my train of thought. Your question was licenses, yes. So, for like Sydney, Rooms, NextPath, we want all students on it, so we do pay. Sydney is by building, but the other two are based off of our student enrollment. For the special education technology and the general education, some of those will be used for those target times, so it won't be all students that need that login, but maybe we're buying 50 of this math one because it has this huge extension piece to it, and then special education, we're gonna buy, you know, so those will be a little bit more custom, they won't be for every single student. So it's a lot of technology, but we really, the admin team has been talking an awful lot about artificial intelligence and how we can do a slow introduction to staff, because there are some staff that are using it very, very, very regularly, and then there are some that are just terrified at how much capability it has and how they're gonna know if their students are using too much artificial intelligence and not enough skills of their own. But I think that it is, not even I think, it is the fastest growing movement, obviously, in education. And so teaching our kids and our staff to be consumers of the technology as opposed to trying to regulate it is going to be important.
It's like, oh, sorry, go ahead. It is like when calculators came out.
The internet, right?
My kid is not using a calculator.
No.
Think up here, and then you move on to the computer, and I'm just like, what?
Yeah.
But that, I mean, it is where
Now
we
a
have
kid can sit
come.
in a room and say, hey Alexa, what's 32, right? I mean,
Yeah.
skills to use the things as opposed to memorization. So those are the admin's recommendations instead of a bus right now.
Kayla, did you have a question? Kayla?
No, I'm good.
No? Okay.
I'll ask it later.
Okay.
So, need a vote?
We do.
Well, anybody make a motion?
I've had a motion to approve it.
Did you have discussion? You
No,
still
I'm
seem
gonna
like.
second it.
You second it?
Yeah, I'll second it.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Good, 7. Alright, 7 again, Mark. We're setting a record tonight.
That's great. I think weather is kind of a, I don't know, I'm just saying.
We need
We're pretty efficient
tornadoes
tonight.
every month.
Everybody's all in favor, I'm saying, not the pace.
Both is not bad.
Alright, so we'll move on to 9.4, and admin team, thanks for putting the time together to put that together. I'm sure it wasn't easy to come up with how to spend the money, but we appreciate it.
We're shoppers, we have no problem spending.
Alright, 9.4, policy committee recommendations, second reading of our 1000 series.
So last month, nobody asked any questions about them, so this is the second reading of the thousands, and when we have the special meeting and talk about board officers, we're gonna have to talk about committees again and who's gonna step into that policy committee. So would look for approval, so those can be finalized, but we will talk more about policy at our special meeting.
We have not decided the date and time for the special meeting, right?
Not yet, no. So,
I motion to approve the 1000 series policies as written.
I'll second it. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Aye, okay. 7 again, Mark. We'll move on to the report section, so meeting minutes. Guess I'll make a motion to approve the meeting minutes as written.
I'll second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. 7 again, and then Shelley.
Sure. Just a couple of announcements that we are fully into banquet season. There's always celebrations happening in spring. If you're at the high school, pretty much any night of the week, you could probably find dinner as one group or another is celebrating. A reminder that this Wednesday is our People celebration. We're at the Lunda Park. We celebrate all of our staff for their 5, 10, 15, 20, 25, 30. This year we have 3 celebrating 35 years of service to the district, which is pretty exceptional. And when we started planning the banquet in early March, we had 1 retiree, now we have 10 retirees that will be celebrating that night. So dinner is at 5:30, you are certainly welcome to join if you would like to.
Who are the 3:35?
The 3:35.
Put you on spot.
The
You can
3:35
email
years.
us.
I will definitely, yep. I meant to bring the banquet thing and then I forgot.
Sorry.
No, that's quite all right. So that is all that I have right now.
Okay. WASB, Gail, you got anything?
Nope.
No. Okay. Conference and workshops, anybody been to anything?
Yeah, I went to the WASB training
Can you give us a little background on what you learned?
Yeah, it was excellent. It was all the ways I can not screw up. Basically, they started with a very short blurb, here's what WASB is, and then they just had an attorney sit there for 2 hours and answer questions and talk about data privacy issues and how, everything I need to know with my big mouth not to screw up in public. So it was exactly what I needed and much better than I feared. So, no, it was well worth it.
Thanks for attending.
Thanks for going.
Yeah.
All right, and Shelley talked about some connection opportunities already, but is there anything else that you need to be made aware of or anything that the board has coming up for things to be involved with?
If I could, I was incorrect. Beth Hansen is 35 years and she's a retiree. There was 3 30 years, Allison Berger, Barb Luke, and Jean Hart, who also is retiring this year. Those are our 3 30-year staff members being celebrated, so just want to give you that.
Thanks. All right, any future agenda items?
I do. And I'll try to make it quick. When I came on board and I talked to you, I said the most important thing I thought for the school district was coordination with the Ho-Chunk Nation. We talked about attendance, we need to coordinate with the Ho-Chunk Nation. We've talked about community engagement, we had presentations from concerned members of the public over concerning issues, and we have just signed MOU. MOUs are a huge amount of work, and they often are 10 years behind schedule. That's normal. MOUs I've worked on in other venues are also 10 years behind. That MOU is big. It has a lot of moving parts, and they cover almost everything we need to do if it doesn't collect dust. And most MOUs collect dust. And I have a feeling a lot of people who worked on it maybe just will pessimistically assume it will collect dust. I do not want it to. So what I want to add to the agenda is a progress report on how we're going at implementing that MOU. There's a lot of things in there that we're gonna lose track of.
What kind of frequency are you looking at, Alex?
Well, for now, I would like maybe a big agenda item next meeting, and then we could possibly have it just be a bullet point in all the meetings after that, where we can have an update, like how's the MOU going, what's been done, what
So there
progress.
are quarterly meetings that are scheduled as part of the MOU, so we most certainly could schedule it on the board agenda the month before the quarterly meeting so that the whole board knew what was going to be discussed at that meeting, and therefore if anybody wanted to join or be part of that discussion, you would have notice ahead of time?
Yes.
Okay, so we can certainly.
I would suggest that, so I would make, I know there's a lot, this is asking a lot.
No.
And the MOU just got signed, and so basically my future agenda item is to have a section next meeting where we talk about exactly this. We can't make any decisions about it yet, but I want it on the radar every month.
Absolutely, is Ryan Slade. I think you're going to be, I hope you're going to be pleasantly surprised how many of those things are already happening as we were talking about it and we were writing them down. I just said, you get that we already do that, and they're like, yep, but this formalizes it. And so then we got to the point that we started saying, so that it's not between Shelley and Ryan, it's the district and the nation. So regardless of who sits in those chairs, that the organizations function together at that level.
But we don't necessarily get that that already happens. And a lot of parents don't get that that already happens.
Absolutely.
And as a new board member, I still don't know how any of it works.
Absolutely.
And I assume that means that most members of the public don't know how it works.
You are absolutely correct.
And the one way that, not just the board, but everybody else, these are recorded, they're public, people can hear about it, and I think if nothing else, if everybody in the community hears that the board is paying attention to this, taking it seriously, and working on it every month, that alone does something.
Excellent.
So that's my motion.
Absolutely, Even all the appendixes, right? Once all of those are done, the appendices.
Which were not included online, I'll point out, in my packet, I didn't get.
Correct, because they're not all made yet.
There you go.
And so that was my point, that even the creation of all those appendices from both organizations is that next step forward.
Because I'm the nerd who was like, where's appendix B? Freaking out, yeah, okay, thank you.
Sorry, you could have asked.
Okay.
Stopped you, it's nothing.
I'll second.
Oh, it would, we're just.
You don't have to.
We're just saying it's,
It's just.
consideration. So does anybody else have anything up for future meeting?
I do.
Yep, go ahead.
I wrote down a few. Just can we have like a legal expense, like how much we have used legal expenses for our next agenda item? The other thing is the Title IX that is floating around, what we can discuss on that. I would recommend finding a diversity training for us, to watch. I did reach out to it's a, WASB, but it was on, their site. Will is doing a presentation on May 8th, I believe. And I reached out to see if it was gonna be online, so we could watch it online. It's not.
WASB or WIL, the Wisconsin
Well,
Institute for.
it came under their, as an
WASB sent it out?
Yes.
Okay.
And so anyways, I reached out to them and they're not gonna put it online during the time of the conference or, but they did say that they would be putting it on, line about 2 weeks afterwards, and then all of the packet information will be available on their site and they are discussing cell phone usages and all the legality realm of that. And so just an FYI for anybody, because it's like $175, but they will wait, if you wait a couple weeks, they'll have the information available. Sure. I just wanted to share that.
That's something I forgot when you asked about the WASB meeting, is in June, they are making a whole bunch of their trainings public, well, not public, but free to WASB members that are currently subscription locked, and that might be exactly what you're already doing.
Yeah, so
There's a wealth of information, and so
Yes.
just for your information, we can talk about it when we meet for a special meeting. There were certainly times when the whole board would gather and we would watch an online training together so that we could watch it, hit pause, have some conversation, answer questions, talk locally about it, and then hit play again, right? So that certainly can happen. You can also watch them from your homes. Like, I would highly encourage you to engage at whatever level you are willing and comfortable.
And I think with a lot of new, younger board, being a young board now, it would be helpful to have some type of online education for us, even if you had to do it a special meeting, that we could do it, because then we're all on the same page and we all hear the same message. And I just think that would help with the board together. So I just recommend that.
Agree, 100%.
Anything else?
No, I think that was my last one.
Okay. All right, with that then I will make a motion to adjourn.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
I feel like we should write this in some sort of like.
Everybody going, it's not reading. It is
I actually-
6:45.
I need about 3 minutes.